questions? Start over there. Sumi.
I know you grew up close to the Cape, but what did you know of, if anything, of the border war and the border showdown growing up before you got here to Mizzou?
Not a whole lot. I wasn't, the biggest, you could say, Mizzou fan, necessarily growing up. I definitely watched a little bit of Mizzou football, but not a whole lot, so I can't say I knew a whole much before I got here.
Questions right there. We'll go to Darren. We'll go to Gabe.
Connor, just overall thoughts on the O-line's performance week one, and how you guys are meshing as a group after being that starting five in a true game for the first time.
Yeah, I thought it was a little slow, a little clunky. I think we got to do a little bit better communication between one another. But it's always that first game. You kind of got to get out of the way and just improve on it this week and get better.
Connor, if you didn't know much about MUKU before you got here, what do you know now?
Yeah, we've had a few people over the summer come in and speak to us about the rivalry and what it means to, the fans, the people in Missouri, and how they feel about the people in Kansas. And it means a lot to people, you can say that, to say the least.
Bye.
Connor, is there any kind of challenge to just sort of separate what you know about the rivalry versus just staying locked in on the task at hand?
No, not really. During the week it's pretty much all football. You don't think of much about the fans or the crowd until you run out the tunnel at 2:30. So you're pretty much just locked in on the scheme and what they're going to do as a team more than anything else.
Back over to your left.
Connor, now that you've had a lot of time to process Thursday's game, what would you attribute some of the breakdowns of protection to? Once you watch the film, what was
Just
it?
miscommunication. Just thinking somebody might have help inside and they don't. It really starts with me just getting everybody on the same page. That's probably the hardest thing about playing O-line is getting all five guys together. If you're missing one and something happens, it can be glaring. So getting all five guys to play as like one unit, I think is our biggest thing moving forward, improving it.
The middle here.
Connor, KU has a couple pretty good pass rushers, DJ Withers and Dean Miller. What do you know about them and what makes them so hard to stop? And at the same time, what do you guys have to do to make sure they don't get
Yeah,
back?
I think there are two ends for them. They got good length, they're tall, they're athletic. I think our tackles just have to be keyed in and, film, watching what they like to do, on third down, base downs, and just, take notes, prepare like you test or to exam in school.
Far left.
You've been on a lot of different offensive lines during your time here. You mentioned communication being one of those issues. Is that something where you can kind of focus on that? Are there any sort of exercises or practices that you can do to improve that?
Yeah.
Or is it something that just kind of naturally develops over time in a group of five?
I think it's both. I think at practice, you kind of have to be a little obnoxious about it, the communication. And then, I think the more games you play together, it naturally just happens. It's easier. You've kind of seen it before, so, it's maybe a little more comfortable talking or whatnot. But, yeah, I think you just have to overdo it in practice.
All right, Connor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.